Good day, everyone. Remember to read and understand the lesson first in your LMS before watching the video. So these are just examples or just a summary of what is in your lesson. Simple and compound propositions. A basic truth table for a simple proposition P is shown below. Is P, and then you have the truth and false. And for the compound propositions, there are so many things that is under the compound proposition. Let's start with a negation. So when we say negation, it is the denial of a given proposition. And it is denoted, the P is denoted by, and it is read as not P. So for example, for your proposition, you have the water is cold. So when you negate it, it will become the water is not cold. So for your table, since you have, it's always, there's a statement true, there's a statement false. It's always like that. And then when you negate the proposition, the true will become false, and then the false statement will become true. Next, we have conjunction. It is a compound proposition that combines two simple propositions called its conjuncts. A conjunction is true if and only if both of its conjuncts are true. So the conjunction of P and Q is denoted by P, and it is read as P and Q, or P but Q. So remember, the statement will just become true if and only if both of its conjuncts are true. So for example, so here you already have two statements. We have the P and the Q. So for example, in your P, you have the water is cold, and for your Q, the statement is Miguel drank the water. So P and Q, the water is cold and Miguel drank it. So that is the English statement. So for the table, it will become like this. So you have P, you have true, true, false, and false. And for the Q, others will just have the only three, but it's good to have it as four. We have true, true, false, false. So on the other side, we also have true, false, false, true, and false, false. So if P and Q, so true and true, true and true, that will make the statement true. Remember the condition for the conjunction. It will only become true if the statement, if and only if both of the statements are, or conjuncts are true. So if true and false, it's false, false and true, it's false, false and false, that's still false. Next, we have disjunction. So it is denoted by P. So this is a symbol, and it is read as P or Q. So this symbol is or, this is and. So like for example, for your P statement, we have the water is cold, and then for your Q, we have Miguel drank the water. So the water is cold or Miguel drank it. And for the disjunction, we have two. We have disjunction is inclusive if it is true when either one of its disjuncts is true or possibly both. And we also have exclusive when either one of its disjuncts is true but not both. The P or Q is an example of an inclusive disjunction. And let's have an example for that. So P, we have true, true, false, false. And then for your Q, you have true, false, true, false. You have true, 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 false, false, true, false, or false. So for your P or Q, true or true, that will make the statement true. True or false, that's true. False or true, that is still true. False and false, that is already false. Because remember, inclusive, if it is true when either one of them of its disjuncts is true, or possibly both. So if you have true, either one of them or even the both of them are true, that will make the statement true. But if it's already false, the both of the statements are false, so it will become false. So next we have an exclusive disjunction. It is denoted by P, and it is read as P or Q but not both. Again, it is read as P or Q but not both. So you have P, so we have T, true, true, false, false, and then for the Q, it's just the same. We have true, false, true, false. Okay, so we have this P or Q but not both. So if it's true or true, that would make the statement false. True or false, that will make the statement true. False or true, that is true. False and false, that is false. Because remember, a disjunction is exclusive if it is true when either one of them of its disjuncts is true, but not both. Either of them is true, but not both. That's why here, if true or true, it will make the statement false. There's one of them is true, that will make the statement true. Okay, next we have an implication is also called as conditional proposition. So it combines two simple propositions, hold its premise and conclusion. So an implication is only false when the premise is true but the conclusion is not. So it is denoted by P, and it is read as P then Q, or P implies Q. So like for example, if the statement for your P, we have the water is cold, and your Q is Miguel drank the water. So the statement, English statement, will become P then Q. If the water is cold, then Miguel drank it. So the word there is then. So let's have a table of truth. So the same, we have T, T, F, F. And for our Q, we have true, false, true, false. So P then Q. Okay, remember, an implication is only false when the premise is true, when the P is true, but the conclusion is not. So here, if true and true, that will make the statement true. True, false, 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 true, that is true, and false, false, that is true. So here, you will only have false if there is a false in your Q, but in this, you have both of them are false, so it will give you a true statement. It is always, always, always. Just remember that if there's false in the second statement sa Q and then true ang P niya, that will give you a false statement. So we only have one F here for P then Q. Next, we have inverse. So an inverse is denoted by like this. So that is negation of P. meaning you will make the positive statement a negative one, or you will make a negative statement a positive one. You negate, you reverse the statement. So let's try to have a combination of a negation and an implication proposition. So let's have this. Then a negation of Q. Well, let's try this one. So for example, you have still the same. The statement for your P is the water is cold, and for your Q, Miguel drank the water. So for this statement, English statement, so if the water is not cold, then Miguel did not drink it. For the table, for the truth table, still the same. We have, for the P, we have T, T, F, F. And for the Q, we have T, F, T, F. And for the negation of P, meaning you negate the P, the value of P, which is, the first one is T, to become false. Next, the true will become false, the false will become true, the false will become true. And next, since you still have here, you have to negate the Q also. So negation of Q, so the true will become false, the false will become true, the true will become false, the false will become true. And lastly, you can now solve for this proposition. So negation of P, then a negation of Q. So okay, so remember earlier, we will only have a false statement here if your P is true and your F is, and your Q is F, false. So for here, negation of P, then negation of Q, so you have to use this F or F, that is true. False or true, that is still true. True or false, that will give the statement false, a false statement. And for true, true, that is true. Okay, so let's try another example. So let's try negation of Q, then P. So for the Q, is sorry, let's start with the P. So we have true, true, false, false. And for the Q, you have true, false, true, false. So since you have to negate here for your proposition and negate the Q, so you have to negate first the Q. So the true will become false, the false will become true, the true will become false, and the false will become true. So you can now solve for this proposition. We have negation of Q, then P. So remember sa then, kung ang first statement is true and then the second statement is false, false yun na siya. So let's try to solve now. We have F, then true, F, then true, that is true. True, then true, that is true. False, then false, that is true. True, then false, that is false. Just remember again and again, if the first statement is true and the second statement is false, that will make the implication statement a false statement. So when you will make a truth table, just use the value for your P, you use T, T, F, F, and for your Q, it's T, F, T, F. And you have to follow what is given, what is the given proposition. Okay, that's all.